Welcome, fellow travelers of the forgotten roads and wanderers of wilds to the verdant enclave. I'm your host, and sometimes friendly DM. More relevant to today's discussion, I am also your fellow wanderer and wilderness guide to the Ranger class of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Thanks to a change in schedules, I haven't been able to make one of these feature videos till now, so I apologize, and thank you for your extended patience. When Rangers reach level 10, they get two things: a choice of expanding their Natural Explorer feature for the last time, and Hide in Plain Sight. This is the last time, as I mentioned, that Natural Explorer will be expanded, so players should make sure they are paying attention or asking questions about what areas they will be moving into for the next stages of the campaign. And DMs should consider how they might give players useful information without giving away too much in the way of plot spoilers. Hide in Plain Sight is a frequently unused, commonly misunderstood, and often altered feature. And when I first looked at it, I was excited, then I was confused, and then disappointed. It was not until I really started looking at game mechanics and trying to find uses for it that I started appreciating this feature more. That isn't to say that the feature is perfect or much of a realistic portrayal of camouflage tactics, but we will work with the game mechanics. Since Natural Explorer has been explored thoroughly in previous videos, I'll focus on Hide in Plain Sight, as it is a more complex feature than it appears. First, the criticisms. Hide in Plain Sight is a lesser version of the spell Pass Without Trace, as it only affects the ranger and is immobile. It takes an entire minute to set up, which renders it unfeasible to use in combat. In addition, it is ruined completely the moment the ranger moves, takes an action, or a reaction, and must be completely reassembled over the course of another minute if there are non-magical materials, as though the earlier camouflage had completely evaporated. I understand, and in some ways agree with these issues, but they do not render Hide in Plain Sight useless. Let's dig into the mechanics and explore how this feature might be used fully, and in conjunction with the ranger's other abilities. The ranger must use fresh mud, dirt, plants, soot, or other naturally occurring materials with which to create this camouflage over the period of 1 minute. Once this minute is complete, the ranger has to find a solid surface such as a tree or a wall that is at least as tall and as wide as the ranger character. You gain a +10 bonus to dexterity stealth checks as long as you remain there without moving or taking actions or reactions. Once you move, or take an action, or a reaction, you must camouflage yourself again to gain this benefit. Now, as I understand this, it is not stipulated that preparing the camouflage requires your action for that entire minute, which suggests that your interaction might be required instead, leaving you capable of stealth actions, dashing, dodging, opening doors and closing them, etc. But this is my interpretation, so check with your DM how they might rule on this. The surface does not have to be a flat surface, just solid, and larger than you. To me, that means the floor, ground, or a ceiling are acceptable surfaces so long as your body can be fully contained within the available space. Note that this does not include smell, so smart DMs might be able to use that against players. Smart players would counter that by making sure they keep themselves clean as best they can. I asserted earlier that Hide in Plain Sight is not a combat ability. While this is true, that does not mean that it does not have combat application. It can indeed be used to set up ambushes, as only one member of a party needs to succeed on their stealth check to surprise the enemy. Let's lay out a scenario. A group of orcs is on its way to attack a village, and the party wants to intercept them. Thanks to the ranger's natural explorer, it is entirely possible for the party to outmaneuver the horde and get ahead of them, and DMs should be willing to allow this because it is smart tactics for the party. Depending on how much time there is before the enemy arrives, the entire party can prepare the battlefield through magic or mundane means, like setting up fortifications, trenches, traps, etc., if time allows. The ranger could choose a good spot, for example, up in a tree, and after a minute of preparation, hide, with plus 10 to their stealth with hide in plain sight. The enemy arrives and finds their way blocked by a prepared party. They are probably not willing to negotiate, though clever face characters like paladins can use this opportunity to roleplay, and demand the orcs disband and leave. If the orcs choose to attack, the ranger player can, without revealing their position, use a bonus action to cast a spell like Hunter's Mark, Hail of Thorns, Ensnaring Strike, or Lightning Arrow. The DM compares the ranger's stealth roll against the orc's passive perception, and every creature who failed to meet or beat the stealth check would be surprised. But this is only one way that hide in plain sight can be used. Yes, Pass Without Trace could be used to sneak an entire party into an area, effectively turning the whole party into rogues, even characters in heavy armor, looking at you, Paladin. But Pass Without Trace is not a perfect solution here. It burns a resource in a spell slot, does not turn people invisible, and could be used on exfiltration to better effect, especially if an alarm has been raised due to party antics. So a smart party could have the ranger infiltrate a location during the day, using hide in plain sight, wait till evening, because hide in plain sight does not have a duration, while Pass Without Trace ends in an hour, and then help the entire party in, like for example, by lowering a rope down the outside of the wall, or a rope ladder. Then the ranger could help with battles or escapes in the aftermath of infiltrating with their spell slot complement at full strength. Let's say the party has been divided, and the enemy is in heavy pursuit in numbers too great to be countered for the moment. The ranger could keep moving, faster and more stealthily in their natural explorer terrain, while preparing for hide in plain sight, find a good spot, and to all practical purposes, disappear. But remember, this does not stop scent. Rangers would be well advised to keep their scent clean to prevent, for example, hounds tracking them. DMs take note, scent tracking is great to use against rogues and rangers alike. Rests is where hide in plain sight really comes into play, and can be useful even if a member of the party has a weapon of warning. Hide in plain sight has no duration limit, so it is conceivable that a ranger could set it up and take a long or short rest. The weapon of warning would prevent the party members from being surprised, and even wake the party should enemies get within 30 feet. But hide in plain sight would actively turn the tables on intruders by rendering them surprised when the ranger seems to simply meld out of a tree. Again, the unlimited duration of hide in plain sight makes this a great way for the ranger to move about the countryside, especially in their natural explorer terrain, find enemy trade routes or troop movements, and simply observe, gathering intelligence, finding ambush sites, mapping out enemy strongholds, campsites, and blinds, enabling the party to prepare especially well. DMs should let the ranger do this in order to allow the party to really plan out well their approaches, strategies, and escapes. This gives the ranger players a sense of usefulness, and the party a sense of realism as they have their characters behave intelligently. It does require that DMs carefully consider the terrain and build it up for exploration. And remember, the enemy could have mapped the region out as well. Like many others, when I first looked at the feature Hide in Plain Sight, it was in isolation from the other features. It's understandable. Few games go this high in level, and with 9 previous levels of thinking the feature would be useless, well, that's a lot of preconceived notions to ignore in order to look at this feature and how it interacts with the other features. It depends on a thorough understanding of the rules of exploration, stealth, movement, and a DM to buy in and account for the different applications through in-depth scenarios. Finally, it requires players to actively consider how, when, and why to use this feature through a mountain of time and preconception of it being useless. Like many of the other Ranger features, Hide in Plain Sight is as useful as you make use of it. Even if you only use it to keep watch over your company's rest, that's helpful, even a step more than a weapon of warning. A smart player can use it to infiltrate an enemy stronghold, and make it easier for the rest of the party to get in, to observe enemy movements, prepare ambushes, enable an isolated character to dramatically escape pursuers. Really smart players could even use it multiple times a day, in multiple scenarios for a multitude of outcomes, all while conserving their magical powers for other situations. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.